Welcome to The Collect at 500 Oxford Street. My name is Terence Eben. I am the founder of Never Fade Factory. We are a divergent futurism fashion brand in space with a flagship operations in Soho. In Soho, we're located on 58 Old Compton Street and have been there since 2018. We started in 2017 January on Brewer Street, right across the street from Palace, next to Machine A, which was a very fashion retail street, and have grown over the last 4 years to become a hub, a destination for sustainability, for creative artists and fashion designers and techs who are just coming into the industry and looking for a laboratory, looking for a space to be able to express what is their opinion, their take on how to use the creative arts to impact the world socially. We're not just a fashion brand. We're definitely not an orthodox fashion brand. We are a fashion brand that is invested in the idea that as a fashion brand, you can create a platform, you can influence, you can create a voice. As a result, we have generously shared our space on Old Compton Street in Soho with several other brands, nurturing them on how to become an independent fashion brand with very low capital by working with one another. So we bring this level of experience, this dynamic forward thinking of circular and shared economy to our collective space here at 500 Oxford Street, deemed The Collect. We're excited to be among several other brands who, like us, are doing the same of readapting how you see a commercial retail space on the high street here in London, in the West End.
I love you like la 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 la.
Welcome to The Collect at 500 Oxford Street. We are at prime property, prime location on Oxford Street, one of the most coveted and busiest shopping retail streets in Europe. And here, Westminster Council, working with some of the landlords in the West End and stakeholders, have been able to take a few spaces that were empty and create this fantastic laboratory-style project where a collective of upcoming brands, upcoming emerging creatives are able to share a space, take it from how it used to be thought of traditionally as a retail space and convert it to what is today modern-day retail. We know that the disjointment and the sort of increase in online trading is just due to the luxury of having it at your convenience, of having it at home. But what is also true is that traditionally, retail spaces have not offered enough interaction, enough exchange with consumers. They have not offered enough education to consumers about products. And we believe behind these sort of projects that what we can offer, what we can make a change with is offering consumers an exchange interaction, whether that's using VR, whether that's using live painting, whether that's using tailoring, sewing, whether that's using personalization and upcycling on the spot with the consumer in view and with the consumer watching how you create and the process. There is a need to create more exchange, more interaction, especially if we're talking about sustainable fashion. Because part of sustainability that we're practicing in a commercial sense as brands, especially as Never Fade Factory, is we get vintage clothes, we get pre-loved clothes, we get worn clothes, and we upcycle them into something a bit more unique, into something a bit more sentimental for the client. So, on this same note, we should also be able to have consumers who want to bring in their old clothes, who want to bring in their own garments they might have felt have sentimental value for upcycling.
I love you like la 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 la.
So I'm about to take in a little tour of The Collect at 500 Oxford Street. I'm gonna put my mask on. It might sound a bit muffled, but hopefully not too bad. Just taking you down a little trip. We're gonna start with LDC Lawn Design Club. They've been around for a long time, for at least the last 3 years. And the concept is basically encouraging sustainable fashion brands, startups who want to have high street presence in short term. So basically, LDC is providing pop-up space for a lot of great brands that are into sustainable fashion. and this is their stand where they have a number of great brands that you can look at, from shoe designers, jewelry, sunglasses, accessories, etc.
Hi, I'm Alana with LDC. So Lone Design Club is the home for independent sustainable designers from all over the world. We help independent brands enter retail spaces like this. And we've been going for 3 years now, and we've done lots of pop-ups in different areas across the UK and Europe. And we'll be here until the 26th of January.
Amazing. What do you think makes LDC stand out in this sort of recreation and adaptability of retail spaces in the current London marketplace?
We definitely like to champion independent designers, so we encourage our designers to be in store, meeting customers, doing styling appointments, and really connecting the gap between physical and online retail. And then we also do these short-term maximum impact pop-up stores across the UK, disrupting different high streets, whether it's a local high street or a major high street like this. And again, supporting independent brands that maybe wouldn't have had a chance to be in a physical retail space like this previously.
Well, Lana took it right out of my mouth. This idea of combining online and IRL is such an important idea. It's such an important topic. It is one that I think, this sort of concept of the collective sponsored by Westminster Council could help address. There is a larger number of people who have gone to e-commerce as a way to, consume fashion and art. And yes, I think one of the few things that will help save brick and mortar in retail spaces is the ability for innovation around how do you create a synergy with the e-commerce, online behavior, social media, etc., and the brick and mortar space. And I think LDC has been doing that for a while. And then you have entry into the market, some new brands that are following in that direction to do the same. Here we have Moonlight Hotel, also a very cool brand. As we all know that COVID is really impacting us, so Lana, the owner, is not here today. But I really like this rug. It's amazing, and everything here is like about upcycling cash for gold. I like that, considering cryptocurrency is about to kill gold. But she has some really cool stuff. She has patches, badges. Lana also upcycles here at the space just to give the consumers, the shoppers, a little taste of the new ways in which we can use retail spaces. I cannot walk right past Lofte. It's a really great platform also. Sustainable jewelry, sustainable garments, some really cool Scandinavian designers.
So we are a sustainable platform for fashion brands, skincare brands, and we sort of have a shop here where we sell accessories, skincare, different fashion garments, and each brand has got their own story. They're all sustainable, and a lot of fabrics that they use are made from sort of recycled materials. We use sustainable inks, which obviously make all the fabric pieces sustainable, and yeah, that's pretty much it, really.
Just in terms of, since we're examining different factors around what we're doing in the collect, what is your average price point here, would you say, or what is your most affordable item, rather? Let me ask.
The most affordable item, I would say more maybe the accessories. So we've got sort of accessories which are more sort of affordable, and then we also have earrings which are made out of.
This is what I wanted to see. Yes.
So we've got these sustainable earrings here, which are made out of recycled fabric, which are all pressed together to create these really pretty earrings, and then here we have some sort of masks and scrunchies, which again, these are made from a really nice silk material, which again is recycled from recycled cottons. So yeah, everything's sustainable and affordable, and then we have higher priced sort of garments, which are sort of hand crocheted, So these.
What brand is this? What designer?
See, this brand is Nandi Studio. And these pieces obviously take, it's a longer process because obviously they're all handmade, which obviously these are the higher priced items because obviously the longer it's made. So this bag goes for £80.
It's not that bad.
So yeah, and then obviously items we've got, you know, silk, 100% silk items, which obviously silk's quite an expensive fabric, therefore to make things be more expensive, so that's why these ones are higher priced.
Indeed. Thanks a lot, Robin. This is what we're aiming for, just to get a bit more of the feel of Lofte, because we felt like we were missing some descriptions. And for sure, I think again, items like earrings is where operations like ours, like this, could win, because people pay a fair price for jewelry, usually most of the time not sustainable, and where if the price is competitive, then you can convince people to start with little things like accessories to become a bit more sustainable in their purchases.
Yeah. Definitely. We also have actually the same lady also makes you know, pieces like this, which are actually made out of sort of old retro bed sheets. So she collects all the bed sheets and then turns them in to.
I was taking my mom's blankets when I was about 14 and making clothes.
Yeah, and I just think it's a good way to sort of recycle and use pieces of fabrics that have already been used to make new garments.
It's amazing. Thanks for the tour.
No, that's fine.
We'll see you again, I'm sure. This will be part one of what we're trying to do, getting the message out about the collect.
Yeah.
And what we're doing here is a group of different brands at 500 Oxford Street. Thank you. We're drifting over to tea in the house. We're just come for you to introduce your brand to us and to give us a bit more information about the brand.
Sure, so my name's Tidarat Kaha. I am the owner of ArchiveSix. We are a rare designer vintage store. I've been sourcing and selling vintage since 2015. And I specialise in rare pieces from the 90s, some Jean-Paul Gaultier, Versace, Moschino. And like to tell a bit more stories about where the product comes from, and most importantly, keep things in circulation for longer and creating a more sustainable and conscious fashion landscape for people to be a part of.
How are you finding the experience at the collect?
Yeah, it's good. I think it's a really insightful way to kind of see where the general census is with everybody in terms of the general public, seeing where they stand in terms of sustainability. But I think in terms of a bigger picture, it's actually just spreading the message of second-hand and getting people actually used to seeing second-hand vintage as a quality item, as a coveted item, as something that's not just a throwaway second-hand in rails. Actually seeing it in central London starts to create a shift in people's perception of it, and hopefully in the future push it into a more mainstream way to shop, basically.
So T is raising a very important point of what we're doing here. I'm going to take this off for a second. Of what we're doing here at the Collect on 500 Oxford Street is we're not just offering, consumers another option on the high street. We are actually playing a pioneering role in how to adapt within a retail space. And part of that adaptability as we move forward in fashion retail does include bringing used clothes, pre-loved clothes, vintage clothes or second-hand clothes closer to the consumer, but educating them at the same time, allowing them to understand that it's okay to use second-hand clothes. It's beyond okay to use second-hand clothes. We are at a time where we should consider that option very strongly because of climate change, because it will impact climate change in that way. I'm going back to tea really quickly. What prediction do you have for sustainability in the future?
I think the prediction is that it will be the normal thing to do. For me personally, because I am in the vintage community, I feel like this is normal, and for me to come into this space where I'm trying to explain to people who don't quite understand the concept of pre-loved clothing, second-hand clothing, vintage clothing, actually it's not that mainstream. So there's still far to go. But to be honest, we don't have an option. Like, our planet, something needs to change right now, you know? It's not like, oh, maybe it will happen. No, it has to happen. And it starts with small businesses. It starts with people like myself selling vintage in terms of sustainable clothing. My clothes is vintage, so the most sustainable piece of clothing is the one that's already made. And if it's new, sourcing it from a more ethical place, like smaller designers, smaller batches, and also, most importantly, keeping creativity and the arts alive and giving smaller brands and smaller designers a platform to really showcase their work, and encouraging people to shop small, prioritizing on quality over quantity, and you know, giving yourself a more conscious and real sustenance to your clothes. Like, when you put something on, actually it makes me feel really special, instead of buying 10 things that will rip and you know, like, or whatever, like the serotonin and the dopamine disappears as soon as you buy it. But actually for me, I love my own product. Like, I am my own customer. So if ArchiveSix existed without me, from someone else, I would buy from there. So the passion is there, the love is there, and when you see smaller businesses talk about their brands and talk about their designs, if they've made it, if they've sourced it, it's a real thing, and there's soul in there, and there's a personality, and there's energy, and you know, a good karma at the end of the day.
That's a new one.
So, you know, I think a different way for people to shop, a different way to people to live, and I'm not saying you have to wear second-hand or vintage, you have to be ethical in every single thing, but you know what, even if you choose one thing, if you buy a second-hand vintage jumper over 10 new rubbish-made, ethically really badly made and poor conditions for mainly women and children who have made these clothing, then actually you're already making a change. And if you do it, you might inspire your partner to do it, you might inspire your kids to do it, and then the chain goes on and on. So actually it starts with you as a person. You think you might not be able to change a lot, but I started out selling second-hand clothing at a car boot sale in East London, you know, so, and look where I am now. So you as a business person can do a lot to influence the fashion landscape, and you as a consumer can also make the right decisions as well.
Well, do I need to say more? The message is all there. The message is education of consumers. The message is awareness around climate change, which is happening whether we like it or not. And the message is around us individually doing a small part as we can to make a change, to make a difference by our platforms. That's why we got selected to be here at 500 Oxford Street. And I am visiting Rebel Blends. As I introduce to you, I'm going to come around. You want to introduce yourself and just what the brand is about?
Hi, I'm Zoe and I'm working for Rebel Blends. The brand is about rituals and taking care of yourself, and our founder noticed there was a gap in the market, that people really took care of their skin and they were really conscientious on what products they were putting on their skin, but they weren't really on their face, but they weren't really taking much consideration for the rest of their body, and the skin is the biggest organ, so it needs to be taken care of. So our founder created a product using a combination of 9 different fruit and nut oils, and then she also wanted to make it a bit more luxury, so she added 3 of them with perfume. So our brand is basically just taking care of yourself and allowing yourself the time to have a bit of an evening ritual, or, you know, a bit of self-care.
Makes sense. I think we forget that when we talk about sustainability of the planet, of the earth, about clothes, we also forget there's a sustainability of the body. And I think in essence, that's what we're capturing here. And this product you're selling mostly online?
Yeah, so it was actually, this product was born out of lockdown, so our founder, this is the first time that she's actually in a retail space. So it is mainly online, but I think having done a bit of retail through this platform, definitely in the future she would like to take it, you know, into shops and yeah, stuff like that.
Amazing, thank you. Rebel Blends, one to watch. We're walking right into bleaq territory, unannounced, and I see, what does it say? Give us space, stop spreading. stop spreading. Is that a coronavirus message? Introduce yourself to us and then hit it off.
It's about toxic masculinity, but I'm Mabel. I'm from London. I grew up in South London, and my clothes sell in this store. I started making clothes in lockdown, and then Shaz hit me up in the second lockdown and basically started stalking me. But bleaq is like all about like inclusivity and kind of like, I don't know, I guess a lot of the brands are very they're sustainable, but they're also like it's very personal. Like all of the clothes that are made here, I think they're like very personal to each designer, and they're all extremely different as well. So I think this brand is a lot about like diversity and like creating things out of nothing, kind of.
And you guys currently have a shop somewhere else, yes?
Yeah, we have another store in Brick Lane. This is obviously the kind of like art of a residency, but yeah.
Dope. Looking forward to hearing and seeing more for bleaq. We're neighbors. I'm sure I'll see you some more. Certainly. So the point is coming across at 500 Oxford Street, deemed the Collect, where Westminster Council is supporting the initiative through providing a grant, through providing the space, through providing the necessary technical assistance to execute the project. We know that it is possible to influence the fashion high street more by starting with a smaller size project like this, which allows consumer behavior to be examined through experimental work between the emerging creatives and the consumers, which allows for a bit more conscientiousness around what people are selling on the high street. So, stopping the idea of fast fashion, as it were. We will not be able to stop it completely, but let's have another offer for consumers on the high street who are keen and who are interested, to offer some clothes that are made consensuously. So through paying the fair price, by not overusing the resources that we have available to make them. And I think this is the beginning of a change. We can see more spaces like this on the high street, and we're working in the right direction. And here we have Kev. He can tell us a bit more about himself, about his brand, which just newly got introduced to Never Fade Factory at our Soho location, and also some pieces here at 500 Oxford Street. If you can just introduce yourself and just give us a bit blurb about your brand.
Hello, my name is Kevin, and my brand is Barekneverlandes, and especially for streetwear, animation, fashion. It's and customized. I customize some jacket, and you can see that. And I like custom some jackets. I have some I custom some jacket for. I would like to put something new in the fashion, And my inspiration is the Japanese culture, and I work some hoodie. I like work a different design, and I like custom jacket, and I like play with different vintage. I like play with different patch, broderie on board, and some Legos. I like when it's fantasy.
Here at Never Fade on the Oxford Street side, we only have 3 brands. We have Bosco Art, we have Monochrome London, we have Kevin's brand that's here, and I think what Kevin was not really hitting, he was not hitting certain points, being very humble as he is, which I must go into, that this ability to upcycle this denim jacket with paint requires a lot of detail, requires a lot of attention, and most of the time as brands, as designers, we don't really sell it at the fair price, because if you are really going to charge someone for this amount of detail into a garment, then you would have to put it at about £1,000 or more, and then that would defeat the purpose of being on a high street, and then that argument about making sustainable fashion more affordable goes right out the window. But what I'm trying to say is that yes, it does require a lot of a detail and attention to get this degree of perfection of art on the garment. And I think, you know, coming into the marketplace, Neverlandes will make an impact in the market just because of the degree of detail. A lot of people paint on jackets, a lot of people paint on clothes, but as a producer of this sort of garment myself, I can tell you that most of the time there isn't this level of detail put into the garment, and I know for a fact that's what will make this brand stand out in the marketplace. So within these spaces, as we've been offered the opportunity here at 500 Oxford Street, as I'm saying, I want to go see Carson, the artist, resident artist, which is one of the points that we're about to make, is when you intersect art, fashion, tech, well-being, sometimes even food, you have a totally different usage of space. And each of these different elements, art, fashion, music, tech, well-being, currently have some kind of value when put side by side each other. They might not have had value a few years ago. It might not have been the it thing within a small enclosed space, retail space, to combine these things. But what is clear is moving towards 2022, 2023, within commercial retail spaces, consumers like the idea of intersecting more than one thing. And so in this space, we're now seeing the artwork of Carson, one of our colleagues and one of the members of the Collect here at 500 Oxford Street. And so she's selling these little cute art objects, which pre-Christmas time, the idea is people will buy them to decorate their Christmas trees. I cannot leave without showing you the view, our outside view. And within this space, you have a few items from the different brands. It's just a cool space to look at. And wow, look, Primark. You know, the Collect is an ambitious project because here we're talking about sustainability. We're talking about the element of being more conscientious when we consume, and we can see the big beast over there, Primark, who sell hundreds of thousands of clothes, usually very fastly made at very, very competitive low prices. And so yes, it does become a challenge for consumers to have an interest in practicing this sustainable fashion. And at the end of the day, what we do know is that we have to practice sustainable fashion because sustainable or unsustainable fashion, fast fashion, is contributing to the demise of the planet in terms of overproduction, is influencing the idea of overconsumption from fashion consumers. And if an establishment like the Collect, comprising of emerging creatives, can hold down these sort of spaces and compete with establishments like Primark, that might force a bit more sustainable practice on the high streets. That does give an opportunity to more independent brands to take a small piece of the pie within the fashion industry, but most importantly for us to reach this goal that the United Nations has set, coined the SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, to come to some kind of understanding as consumers and as producers that we must pay more attention to sustainable fashion in any form, whether we're doing it digitally with the upcoming idea that you can be in a metaverse, you can buy things for £1, sneakers are £1, you can buy a hoodie for £1, put it on your avatar and still enjoy a sense of fashion as you, but in a digital form in the metaverse. If this is what it takes to reduce consumer behavior of overconsumption in the fashion industry, then these are solutions that we must look at. And again, within these sort of spaces here at 500 Oxford Street, we have the ability, we have the opportunity to practice some new innovation around how we keep consumers interested on the high street. This is why we're here.